I had a really bad accident in my house, overdosing.
Oh, wow.
And it was just wake up call.
Wake up call.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna be dead if I change something. And it was probably 5 years ago when I started looking for answers. And I remember that I didn't even drink before I was 27.
Okay.
So it was like, wow, how did I get from that to this?
Yeah.
From that person, who that kid it was so afraid and all this, to this man right here. Like, I didn't get it.
Today we have a very special guest. He's an entrepreneur, a leadership coach, a speaker, an artist, and a business owner. He's the owner of Sergio Lopez Consulting and Sabas Enterprises. They also do business as Sexy Trees. He's the creator of the Freedom Project at Burning Man in 2017 and a book writer that will publish in 2021. Welcome to the podcast, Sergio Lopez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you, Joe.
here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we're excited too. Actually, Joe had recommended you for a while now. She said that we really need to have you on the podcast, and just by getting to know you a little bit, I can see why, right? So we're very happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm curious to know what Joe.
Why you?
Why? Yeah, exactly.
I think at some point, like when you start doing things like obviously the podcast, you start thinking about people like who would be like a perfect fit. And I remember we just have amazing conversations like 3 years ago. And I remember, you're into like workshops, personal development. So that's why I reached out to you, see what you're up to. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks for coming down all the way from New York.
Thank you for thinking of me. Yeah.
Yeah, and part of the podcast is we want to find people that are following their purpose or seeking their purpose, kind of taking a break away from the everyday 9 to 5, like breaking away from the mold, right?
Right.
And obviously you're an entrepreneur and you've done some amazing things in your life, so you're perfect for what we're about, right? But I always like to start the podcast to kind of get to know people.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about where you grew up, stuff like that. So I know you were born and raised in
Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Aguascalientes. That's the state and city.
Okay.
But I grew up in Querétaro.
Querétaro.
I guess that's where my heart is.
Yeah. So Querétaro, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been all over Mexico because my father was born in Mexico. But is Querétaro the place where you could swim with the tropical fish? Like the caves and stuff like that? Is that Querétaro or is that somewhere else?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. It might be.
Okay.
I just didn't know. I just know.
It's okay because,
But that sounds fun.
Yeah. Joe and we have a goal to do a YouTube channel, which is be a tourist in your own state. Because what we found out is that most people don't actually like tour where they grew up, because you don't think about it. Like, I'm not thinking like I want to go be a tourist in San Jose, California. You know what I mean? But yeah, maybe that's probably, because that's where you grew up, that's your home.
In your own city.
Right?
Yeah. Most people think I want to leave my city to go on vacation, right? Not in my city or state, right?
What is that close to? Like,
Querétaro?
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 hours north from Mexico City.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Mexico City, but not
Yeah.
Querétaro.
And Mexico City, they call it DF, right?
El DF.
Distrito
Federal. Well, El DF is inside of Mexico City.
Okay.
So it's part of it.
Okay.
They call Mexico City to the whole thing.
Okay. So when they say you're from DF, that means you're from the central part of Mexico City.
From the it's kind of like DC.
Okay.
So you gotta be from the DC or you're from around.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Over there, all the cities got together now. It's so big, grows so much.
Yeah. So Querétaro, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long did you live in Querétaro for?
20 years.
20 years.
I moved here when I was 20.
Wow. So you were pretty much already grown up, already raised Mexican values, Mexican culture.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about growing up in Mexico.
Oh, wow. Mexico. I think there's so many different parts of Mexico, right?
Yeah.
When people talk about Mexico, it's so diverse and different, and some parts are wealthy and rich, and some parts are so poor.
Yeah.
Some parts are just beautiful. I mean, I think it was a gift to
Yeah.
grow up there. I learned a lot of things. My family lived there. My mom, my brother, and my sisters, we kind of grew up apart from the family.
Okay.
So it was really interesting. It was exciting. I learned a lot of things. Like I said, I think when I was a kid, one of the things that I missed the most is the community.
Okay.
You know, it was always running around with other kids. You know, my whole life down there was still kid and teenager.
Okay.
So I don't remember a whole lot of it from my beginning, but I do remember that I will go out and play with the kids from like 6, 7 a.m. or until like whenever. My mom will be calling me like, "Hey, you gotta go back home.
Yeah.
Get in. You gotta do homework. You gotta do
That's
this."
exactly what we did in the Philippines.
Yeah, I did
All
that
we do
too.
is play.
Yeah. That's kind of a lost in the newer generations. You know, I did that here when I was growing up too. Obviously, I'm 43, so I grew up in the 80s. So still in the United States in the 80s, kids played. You know, we played sports. I remember growing up a lot of sports. What kinds of things did you do when you were a kid as far as playing?
Ooh. Well, around 9 years old, I started playing basketball. That was
Oh, really?
That was my life. Ended up being my life for many years.
Wow.
So that's what I did. But on the street, we'll play either soccer or any other little game that we'll find.
Yeah.
Bikes or anything. Just running around.
Yeah. That's funny because was basketball very popular in Mexico at that time?
My mom played basketball when she was young.
Really?
And she just kind of put it into us. It's like, hey, you want to practice? And we did, and I fell in love with it.
That's awesome. Right. So is your mom pretty tall?
She's 165 centimeters. So in feet, that's going to be, I don't know, like 5'6", 5'7". I don't think so.
I guess for a Mexicana, though, that's pretty tall.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So she played basketball. Wow, that's
she
cool.
played basketball. Yeah, when she was a teenager, and she really liked it, and passed it on to us and the family. My brother did, I did.
Okay.
My younger sister did as well.
Wow.
She's still doing it. College. Yeah.
Oh, your younger sister plays in college.
Yeah.
Does she play in Mexico or here in the United States?
Over there.
Oh,
Mexico.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome because, obviously my father grew up in Mexico. So when you talk about sports, it was always pretty much soccer, right?
Right.
And nothing wrong with soccer, football. That's what they call it. That's
football.
Yeah, that's the real football. If you talk about football in the United States, they call it fútbol americano, like American football.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was funny because growing up, I played baseball because in the United States in the 90s, baseball was the number one sport, right? So obviously my dad comes from Mexico, so he loves soccer, but his son loved baseball, right? So it's like, oh man. But it was funny. He told me my grandfather in Mexico, who probably grew up in like the early 1900s, maybe like the 40s, 30s, whatever. He was a big baseball guy.
Oh.
Yeah, but unfortunately he passed away when I was very young because of diabetes, right? Which is why I'm very conscious of my health and all that kind of stuff. So I never really got to have a relationship with him. And my mother always says, man, it's a shame that your grandfather passed away because when you were young, you loved baseball and he loved baseball. You guys would have got along very well, right?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So you grew up playing basketball.
Right.
Did you play soccer as well?
So, yes, when I was a kid, I played soccer. I actually was a better soccer player than basketball player. But, I just felt passionate about basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
And so how long did you play basketball for?
Until I was 18. So I had my dream originally was to actually become a professional basketball player.
Wow.
Even get a chance to play semi-pro.
Wow.
But it just didn't work out. Maybe I was not good enough.
Yeah.
At the same time, I got injured. So it was back and forth trying to play and then injured for 6 months. And they come back since I was 15 to 18.
Okay.
So then is when I was like, okay, I need to stop. And I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And that when the dream just crumbled, I was like, what do I do with my life now?
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I started to like, I don't know what to do. And my family, a lot of them live here. They're like, well, why don't you just go over there and try to figure it out? It's not like you're doing something really amazing here. So I just go over there and figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense actually, because a lot of times when people you have a dream when you're very young, or like you're an athlete, right? And that's always the dream if you're really good at sports, right? It's like, I want to be a pro athlete. But when that dream ends, you kind of come to like a identity crisis. You're like,
totally,
right? You're like, my whole life I've been doing this and this was my dream. What do I do now? Right.
Right.
So that was kind of what triggered you to come to the United States was you kind of were trying to part of it. What was the other part of it?
So when I was 19 years old, I started dating this girl and I realized, I really like her. It's not like I want to get married or anything, but that probably is going to happen in the future.
Right.
So I do have to think about my future. So what would that be? And not knowing, then I'm like, well, I don't have a really good job down here. Maybe she's just going to try it out there and figure it out.
Okay.
That was, the two factors that motivated me.
So it was basically an opportunity, a bigger opportunity for you.
I was looking for a bigger opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if your family members down there think about it this way, but when people go from here to there, they have a lot of dollars to spend.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking, everybody makes money here, so I'm just gonna go over there, and they start telling you, they make this much an hour, they make this or that, or you're like, wow, you start counting in your head, translating into pesos, and it's like, oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So then you just in your head you want to come, not knowing what the reality is here.
Yeah. It's basically how it was, like, coming from the Philippines, like everybody looks at America as like, oh yeah, you're gonna be rich, just go over there and be rich. And you come here, you're like, you gotta go to work too.
Yeah.
You gotta have an education, go to work.
Yeah. Then the reality sinks in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we had Hatem, our videographer, on the podcast a couple podcasts ago, and he was telling a story, and he said he thought when he came here it was going to be the same thing, like everything's successful, like money's just easy,
no homeless people,
and then he's like, wait a minute, what's going on here, and he got stuck kind of in the American nightmare, which like a lot of immigrants do, like just working like crazy, no life, and like you said, if you come from Mexico, and maybe you're not because there's a lot of very successful people in Mexico, very wealthy, they don't need to go nowhere, but then there's kind of like that middle, or like the very poor. Or if you come here and you're making, let's just say $10 an hour, they used to make $7 a day in Mexico. So $10 an hour is like, 8 times more than what they were making, right? So it does make a difference, right?
Right.
And then not only that, there is a lot more opportunity here. There's a lot more things you could do. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur. We'll talk about that later. But, becoming an entrepreneur in the United States is probably more open. And is it easier here, would you say, than in Mexico, or is it kind of the same?
Really, I have no way to compare it. I didn't try it down there.
Okay.
So
there you go. Hey, at least you're honest, right?
Yeah, I didn't try it, so I'm not sure exactly how hard it is. But I would assume it's not easy.
Yeah.
It might be easier here. I think the power for you to acquire something here is easier than other places.
Yeah.
You can buy a lot of things with what you make in a day or in a month or something. Yeah.
We're also a capitalist society too, so I think I know NAFTA changed Mexico a lot, but the United States is built on capitalism, entrepreneur. Basically, whoever wants to come here and bust their butt and go after it, they'll get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's kind of like maybe that makes it a little bit easier. But let's get it back to when you came, because I asked Joe this. I asked most immigrants, I said, what was your perception of the U.S. before you came here, right? And then what happened when you got here, because I know people have a different perception.
You have no idea. Yeah. So how different my perception was. So I thought everything was Beverly Hills 90210. That's what I thought of all the schools were like. And that's what I thought, or Friends. That's exactly what I thought it was like. So then I moved here, and I was so naive. Yeah. I didn't speak the language at all, right? And I came here illegally. So it was not that easy. And I was like, oh, wow, you need documents, and you need to speak English to get a job, and you need all these things. And I was like, oh crap, what did I do? And it was for 6 months just crying every single day because it was bad. I mean, I had completely shocked and didn't realize it was going to be
culture shock.
Complete culture shock. Yeah, I was my world would be in basketball and not knowing really a lot about life. Then just I didn't know what to do with myself at that point.
Yeah.
Did you go back to Mexico, or you just stayed?
No, I stayed.
US? Good.
I stayed here, and 20 years later I'm here. I visited, but I think I'm. Sometimes I think about, would I go back? And then it's 5 minutes later, nah.
Well, by now, no, right?
Yeah.
By now, no.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So for 6 months, it was just shock. It was like you said, crying. I mean, I can't imagine. I've never left my country. There's a lot of courage that comes with being an immigrant, I would say, because you're leaving everything behind. Everything and you're going to a whole new country, especially if you don't speak the language. That even makes it even tougher, So now the 6 months are over. How did you start picking up the pieces and like starting your life in the U.S.? What was the first? What happened?
So there are a few different things. First, I think my family. So I came here and I live in a house in Richmond where a lot of people, the family live here. So if you move here, you could live there. They were open.
They were helping.
So they kind of helped me out a lot at the beginning, just kind of getting me situated. They got me a job. They moved me around. They helped me with my first car. So there was a lot of things.
That's good.
And they also took me to a youth church group.
Okay.
So I started making friends and things like that. So you little by little you start making a life.
Okay.
And just progressing and forgetting about what happened over there and just thinking about my future. And then I met a girl.
You met a girl in Richmond?
At the youth group.
Okay.
Well, at least you met her there, not like a club or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody could be anything, anywhere.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, you're very right about that. Because there's some people in church that just because they go to church doesn't mean they're a great person.
Yeah.
And just because they don't go to church doesn't mean they're a great person either, right?
Yeah. I was watching a show with the other day about David Chappelle. He would say, he's Muslim.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm Muslim. I'm not very good Muslim.
Yeah.
So
Is he really Muslim?
Right.
I
Yeah.
didn't
You wouldn't
know
think
that.
so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, so what was your first job?
Landscaping.
Okay. That's funny. And you ended up...
I was making $7.50.
Wow.
And I remember, after all the checks and all that, something that you were talking about, the shocking part, the first month of rent came in and expenses and food and all of that. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm renting a room. It's like, how is that possible? That's the cost of a house I rent over there.
Yeah.
So not knowing what the prices are here, it's like, oh, wow. So you make a lot more, but you spend a lot more.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So you got a little taste of the cost of living. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Bay Area, I mean, it's crazy now, but I'm pretty sure 20 years ago it was still pretty high, the cost of living. But now, I mean, I can't even imagine someone coming to the Bay Area now with the cost of living the way it is now. It's like insane, right?
Yeah.
So you had your own apartment?
No, not at the beginning. I lived with them, with my with the family, my uncles and all that.
Yeah,
in
okay.
the house. So they rented me a room.
Okay.
And that's how I started it.
Okay.
Right. It was at the beginning actually it was not not even a room. It was just the living room.
The living room.
Okay. Yeah.
Sleep in the couch.
On the couch, right? Yeah.
Couch.
That's funny because you just reminded me when I was like 12, my cousin from Mexico came here and stayed with us, right? And it was cool though because I never had a brother. I just have a younger sister, but he became kind of like my older brother, right? Which was good and bad, right? It was good because I actually had a male like brother like figure in my life, but it was also bad because we were so different. And we would argue all the time and like fight all the time. But I'm pretty sure that's what brothers do, right?
Right.
He'd steal my clothes. I would steal his clothes, But yeah, it's funny. You reminded me. My cousin came here and obviously the uncle, right? The brother helps out the brother's son, right? And he actually still in the United States to this day, living in Southern California. But he came here when I was 12. He was a little bit older. He was like maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. So
you remember me right now. Me and my brother, we will always fight.
Yeah.
But we will be like brutally fighting. Like
yeah, I heard that's how boys are. Yeah.
Like breaking things. I broke every door in the house,
Wow.
lights, everything. I mean, we were vicious. It was intense. We fought. And then I moved. And all of a sudden, we don't fight anymore. And now we miss each other.
Yeah.
We love each other.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Express our emotions. And it's like, oh, man, I miss my brother. And I was like, I'm crying because I don't see my brother.
Yeah.
How old is your brother?
3 years younger than me.
Oh, so you're the older brother.
I'm the oldest.
Oh, wow. So you were kind of like his mentor. He probably looked up to you a lot.
I don't know. He looked up to me. I don't know. I don't know.
Is he in Mexico?
He's in Mexico.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, so he stayed behind.
He stayed behind.
Is he like? What is he doing right now?
He works for the Federal Electricity Commission.
Okay.
So he has a pretty good job. Government job, pretty much.
Good career.
Yeah, has a wife, 2 kids.
Oh, so he's got his family. He's got his career and everything.
Yep.
What does he say about you coming here and building your life in the United States? Is he like, man, I wish I did too? Or is he kind of like, whatever?
He came here and he lived here for 8 months.
Okay.
So he actually came and he didn't like it.
He didn't like it. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he was in the middle of college, and he thought about just quitting college, and was like, I'm just gonna go over there and make money. And then he came here, realized it was not that easy. He's like, no, like, okay, I'm just gonna go back and go back to school, and he did that.
Oh, that's cool.
Go back to school and figure it out.
So I want to get back to the sibling rivalry, right? Because like I said, I never had brothers, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but my brother-in-law, he comes from a family of 8. He's New Zealand Irish, the big white guy, right? Very, very cool guy. But he grew up with basically 4 boys around the same age, and they would tell me stories of like when they used to like literally, like you said, literally almost try to kill each other. You know what I mean? Like
I have scars.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So maybe you could tell a story, but I just want to mention something real quick. I think it's a good thing though, because it makes you very competitive, and it makes you a little tougher. Because ever since you're young, you're always fighting and like you're always trying to one up each other and compete, right? I don't know if that helped you in sports. Like I don't know if that kind of prepared you for that. But I noticed that guys, when they grow up with brothers, they're maybe a little bit more tougher. They're a little bit more competitive. They just have that little edge because ever since they're little, they're basically kicking each other's butt. You know what I mean? And
that's basically me and my brother.
Oh, really?
We fight so much, but he made me tougher.
There you go. That's
for
a good
sure.
thing.
I used to throw cooking pans at him.
Instead of that chancla in the Philippines,
anything.
it's the pan.
It was like,
pan.
go away, you're annoying.
Yeah. I had a younger sister, so for me, it was more like the older brother, kind of like take care of her, that kind of stuff, right? But I don't know. Tell us, like, what's the craziest thing you guys ever like what, some of your scars? What if you want to share? You know,
he stabbed me.
He stabbed
you?
When I with a knife with just the pole of the broom, like
the broom
broke it, and it was pretty pointy. It's thick, it's probably inch. He just stabbed me with it and created a scar.
Oh my!
I burned him with the ironing.
With the iron?
He threw like pieces of metal to me and mess up my nose and things like that. I mean, it was bad. We have a good amount of scars.
And that was just from whatever? Like
no, I think the way we grew up, it was not that easy. It was tough. My father left and didn't leave a good picture behind.
Okay.
So I think we absorbed some of that. I myself was kind of a aggressive kid at home, so I was always picking on him. Always picking on him. You know?
So you were the bully.
I was the bully. I was the bully, and he would just not take it and explode.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was his thing. He will not do anything. Just held back, and then explode.
Wow.
And so he would explode on me sometimes, and I would just run, Because I would run, lock the door, and he will take down the door. Like,
oh my God.
Take down the door. I think we broke like 3 doors in the house.
My God. And what was your mom doing when this all was happening?
Mom.
Oh my. I mean, I feel sorry for my mom. I feel so sorry for my mom. We were the devil.
Wow.
I remember one time, this is not with the brother, but I remember sometimes my brother will be my accomplice and things, right? I remember once I used to like playing with fire.
Yeah.
So I was playing with alcohol and fire, and then I got the carpet on fire.
Oh shoot!
And then I got my head on fire.
Your head on fire.
The hair.
Yeah.
We put it out, and then thinking I'm smart, right?
Yeah.
And then I cut a piece of the carpet. The part that was burned, and then I cut my hair, and thinking I'm gonna fool my mom. And then she walked in through the door. The first step, just hear the water.
Oh wow!
And I was like, "Oh, I'm in trouble." Yeah. She's like, "What the hell?"
Not thinking the big missing piece of carpet.
Who would have think? Right?
Yeah.
That's who I was.
That's the way kids think, right? It's like, oh, she won't notice the big missing.
We think we're smarter.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when we're teenagers, we think we're smarter.
Exactly right. And then we find out they were always a lot smarter than us, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to say something to me. He's like, you hate me now, but you're going to thank me later, And I didn't understand it because, my dad was, when I was growing up, my dad was more like a drill sergeant. And a lot of Latino men are like that. They don't like to show love. They don't like to hug. It's just like strict, And, but I realized my dad was just trying to keep his family on the right path. And I used to get mad at him and like, I don't let me do anything, right? And then later in life, I was like, wow, like, thank you, Dad. Like, he kept me out of so many things. Like, I had friends and family members that went down the wrong path because their parents were maybe a little more lax, And, it was good and bad in a way, but But yeah, it's funny. When we're young, we think we know everything. We think our parents are just, they're just doing this and they have no idea and you don't get it. But later in life. So your mom survived 2 crazy boys.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. And then you said you had a sister too, right?
2.
2 sisters. Oh,
2 sisters.
So what were the girls like? Were they the same way, competitive with each other?
The oldest is very, well, not so much anymore, but she used to be very emotional when she was a teenager, right? So everything was like the end of the world.
Okay. And was it your guys' fault a lot of times?
Yeah, probably was, but she's better now. She grew up just like everybody. Yeah. So when I experienced my sisters going through those years, it makes me think like, oh man, that's how it used to be, probably, or worse.
Wow.
And it's just part of life, I guess.
So they're younger than you guys?
Yeah, they're much younger.
Okay.
One actually just turned, yesterday, she turned 21.
Okay.
No, I mean 26. And the other one turned 21 a week ago.
Oh, wow. Very young. So that's like a whole new generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So my mom started all over again.
Oh, okay. So is she remarried now, or?
She didn't remarry, but she
has a
new partner.
Okay. Yeah. So your 2 sisters are from her new partner.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Were you already gone out of the house when they were born?
Yeah, I was gone.
Oh, wow.
No, actually no. I'll take that back. Sorry.
Okay.
My oldest was 5, and the youngest was 9 months when I left.
Oh, so they were very young though.
Very young.
Yeah. What was it like having to leave your little sisters? Was that tough?
Ooh, it was tough.
Really?
It was tough. There was a lot of guilt in my head.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
She was very difficult for some years, and you blame it on me and myself sometimes, or there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
Because you're not the parent and you're not there, so who are you to tell her how to be or how to behave? Or
yeah, I could see where you can kind of feel like that too, but in the end, it's really not your fault. Like you gotta, you gotta go live your life. So now you're in the United States. You got your first job. You're doing landscaping. You met this girl. What happened after that?
So I started doing just that job for a little while. It was only, I think, 6 months. And I wanted to go into construction because they make more money and it was union work and all that. So I tried that out. Didn't work. When I met the girl is when I finally decided to stay. Well, actually, I married the girl.
Oh, you did?
And I divorced the girl.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Okay.
I'm divorced myself too, so I understand.
Yeah, so...
How old were you? Pretty young?
I was really young.
Yeah.
I met her at 21. We got married when I was 20. No, I was probably 22. We got married when I was 24.
Okay.
We divorced when I was 27.
Yeah. So I got married at 26 and divorced at 28.
Yeah.
So
and it was mostly me. I mean, I had no idea how to be in a relationship, really.
Well, I mean,
I know that. I know that now.
Yeah, trust me. I do too. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the Latino thing or maybe it's just similar personalities, but I was always like driven by my heart and passionate and but my brain would not follow till a lot later, and so like, I got married and, it didn't really work out, but, it's just, it was more like a lesson than a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? And then like when you get married young, it's like, I mean, it's either it will last forever or it's just like a lesson, right?
Right. I mean, I learned a lot. It just didn't seem like it, when you get divorced.
Right.
At the beginning, there was so many things. You feel like you're a failure. The worst thing that can happen. All these things, the pain and the hurt and all these things. But then, you start learning from the mistake, and little by little you progress. And I don't learn from all my mistakes. So sometimes it takes me a really long time to get it.
Yeah.
But, now, thankfully, I'm grateful that I had that experience. So otherwise I wouldn't be here, right?
Would you get married again?
Oh, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah. I want to touch on something you said because I went through the same exact thing. Like thinking you're a failure, thinking that it doesn't even matter who messed up or who divorced who. It does something to you, like because if you married somebody, you met somebody that you even considered marrying, like there was some type of like connection or like love or like something, right? And so I, like you, for years, like I just beat myself up about it. But it was kind of like a thing where before that happened, like my whole life was success, and I never really failed at anything. So I didn't really ever lose. So I never appreciate anything. And then after that, it was all those feelings, like you said, like failure, like I messed up, like depression, like this. And then I read a book. It was called 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. And in the book, it says successful people or world-class people are professional failures. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Professional failures? Well, it says they don't look at failure as failure. They look at it as a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, I cannot fail. I can only learn and grow. That's how they think.
Right.
Yeah, so in the book, there's a quote. It says, the world-class or successful people are professional failures. And so at first I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean? Like, how could they be professional failures if they're successful? And it says, I cannot fail. I can only learn and grow. And growth itself contains the germ of happiness. So all these years I was beating myself up for the divorce, because I literally lost everything. So at 29, I was making $400,000 a year. I had my own real estate company. I was married. I had a home I built from scratch, 2 dogs, dream car, picket fence. Like, I had it all, right? I thought I finally made it. A year later, I'm divorced, business collapsed, credit was destroyed, lost all my houses, filed bankruptcy, got a car repoed, had to move back home with my parents, and then my dog dies. Right?
Wow.
So this was the whole 2008 crash, right? Because I was in real estate.
Wow. Is that it?
Yeah. Is that it? Right? Exactly. Wow. Almost everything, besides like a limb or my life, I lost pretty much everything. But so I did beat myself up a lot for years. But then when I read that book, and I was like, it just changed my whole perspective on failure, right? And I was like, well, I didn't fail because I learned something. I'm different. Like, I'm not the same person. Like, I appreciate things. And that was literally what changed my whole perspective. And that was like the road to coming out of the hole and kind of leading to where I am now. Right. So exactly. I just wanted to touch on that because I remember, I was seeing, like, I went through the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what happens is the perspective of that. Right. So it's the same action. The actions haven't changed. Same facts. It's just how you see it.
Yeah.
And how you are able to grow with it.
Yes.
And the fact that you're able to see it in a different way, you feel different. And when you feel different, then you see life differently.
Yeah.
Right? So you go about life in a different way than just beating yourself up for it. And guilt and shame does not bring anything good.
Yeah. Beating yourself up is just a waste of time. You could do that for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you got to get over it, or else you're going to waste your energy.
Yeah. But I was 28.
Tony Robbins says if you can do it in 90 seconds.
Who?
Tony Robbins.
90 seconds.
If you can do it in 90 seconds, then... Because we spend a lot of time on that space.
Yeah.
Beating ourselves up.
Yeah, that's
way
true.
too much. Everybody.
Yeah. And I was 28. I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, I had to learn this kind of stuff. Like, nobody, unless your parents teach you this kind of stuff. Like, I know it now because I've been in organizations where I read a lot of books and, personal development. And I always kind of had that little, like, that little drive. Like, I was meant for something bigger. But dealing with adversity, I had never learned. Like, it was not a skill that I was taught. And most people are not taught, right?
Right.
And like you said, everybody's going to fall. I mean, adversity is just part of life, right? So a lot of people go, oh, maybe that happened. Maybe that's a sign that I'm not. No, that's just life, right? And it's not what happens to you. It's how you react to it. And like you said, how quickly you get out of it.
Right.
But if we're not taught that, you have to read a book or you have to come across somebody that can teach you how to get out. How did you get out of your adversity or that little time in your life?
I didn't get out of it in a good way. Actually, when I got divorced, I blame it on 2 things. I blame it on her and I blame it on money.
Okay.
I don't have enough money. We don't have enough time.
Right.
You find all the excuses to say it's my fault, and I hated her, and I developed a hate for women at that point.
Wow.
So I was like, fuck this, fuck that.
Yeah, it's okay. You can cuss. It's a podcast.
Yeah. I'm gonna do all this, and then I move on like that, and then from that point forward, I look at my relationship in a different way, and it took me many years to catch up, and finally, it's like, oh, this is wrong.
Wow.
You can't hate women for this. You can't hate everybody. From that point forward, I was like, my heart's not open. It's just relationships are business.
Yeah.
Kind of like transactions, and it's hard to live that way.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure it out. A lot of things happened for me to open my eyes and figure out that was not the way. So to answer to your question, I didn't really just went over the hedge. It did a good thing on me though. The part that I blame it on money, that was not so bad because I was like, oh, I need to have a lot more money. So it was a decision that I made at that point, and it was like, how much I need to make double in 1 year, and and I doubled that and tripled that in just in a year. So it really inspired me to get better, to learn, to grow, to find opportunities that I thought were too far for me.
Well, that's good because you actually took it as a positive way instead of going the opposite way. You know what I mean?
So I did both. It was part of it was good, part of it was
bad. So you went kind of a bad way in relationships, which it's funny. Like I'm glad you brought him on because we have a very similar story. I didn't hate women, but once your heart closes, every relationship is pretty much transactional after that. Like I went over a decade. Like it's crazy. Like I'm going to be 43 in a couple days. It's not literally, my heart did not even open up until just a couple years ago. I didn't even realize that. Like I didn't even realize that I was not even open to relationships. In the beginning, it was bad because I would just tell them like, don't start developing feelings for me. Don't, because you're not going to get it back. And obviously, if you're with somebody, they're always going to develop feelings, right? So it would be this transactional relationships that when they would develop feelings, I would just end it and move on, right?
Right.
And that's not good for anybody, right? For myself or for the relationships, right? And then you also mentioned money. So I my previous career was in the financial industry, and we understood how valuable financial education was, because it is true. Like I don't know if your divorce was because of money, maybe it's part of it, but most divorces are because of money. And it's because people don't know about money. They don't, I mean, you play basketball, right?
Right.
Let's say you and I are going to play basketball, but I don't know the rules of basketball. I have no clue how to play the game. But you know basketball, you know the rules. Who's going to win?
Right.
Obviously, you're going to kill me, right? Because I don't even know how to dribble. I'm going to be double dribbling. I'm going to be going the wrong way. Well, let's talk about money. If people don't know the rules of money, are they going to win the money game?
Exactly.
Of course not, right? So, yeah, when it comes to relationships and stuff, money's a big thing, especially if people have different, like, money blueprints, or one person's a spender, one person's a saver, or you just don't know anything about money and you're just struggling, right?
Right.
And then there comes a lot of arguments.
Yeah, and for me, I think it was making money, but still have this poor mentality, and then buying things out of, cars and houses that I can't afford just so I look good. And that's still a poor people mentality, right? You want to portray that image that instead of learning how to manage the money, learning, yes, I have money, it came, but how do I use it? How you go about it? It's all about you, what you believe in, how you, in a way, the value that you give yourself as a person is the same value you give to money in a way. Yeah,
100%. So
it's energy too.
Yeah.
Money's energy.
Yeah.
And
100%.
having a healthy relationship with money is so important. So important.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, because money is a mindset. Like, so the organization I came from, there's people making lots of money. Like I'm talking about $250,000, $500,000, $750,000, $1 million, $3 million a year. And my CEO, he was only 38, making $6 million a year. And he would always say, money's a mindset, money's a mindset. And because we all come with limiting beliefs in money, unless we come from a wealthy family, you have limiting beliefs in money, bottom line, right? Because you always wonder, like, these kids of wealthy people, like, you look at them and some of them are not very bright, some of them are not very hardworking, but they somehow always seem to become successful, right? Either sometimes it was given to them, but they have the right money blueprint since young, right? So they're not afraid of money. Like, we hear things like money doesn't grow on trees, only evil people have money, the rich people are evil. Those are all limiting beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation to generation. Like you said, if you don't know money, like you're never, like you said, you're buying things for people you don't like, to impress people you don't like, that they don't even care anyways, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, we always have this bad money blueprint, and then until somehow you either come across some education or someone that actually knows what to do with money and you get taught, then you could change it. How was your money blueprint changed? Because, I mean, you're a businessman now, you're successful.
At that point when I got divorced, I just had this, I have to make money.
Okay.
So, and I did the best way I could, right? So I was like, okay, I want to a higher position in the company I'm at. So I remember going to my old boss and it's like, hey, I want to make more money, you know? And I was just a painter back in the day. I was a painter. And I think I was making $17 an hour or something like that. Yeah, but I knew in my head, I still trying to learn, but in my head at that point, it felt like, well, if I make like 35, maybe that's enough.
Right.
So I went to my boss and was like, hey, you know what? I need a higher position. I need more money. I don't care what I have to do. I need more. And he's like, well, you know, maybe like ask me in 2 weeks. And he just went around and he finally gave me a decision like, oh, I'm going to give you $2 now and 3 months, 2 more. And I was like, that's not enough. You know, in my head, like, that's not enough for having the house I wanted, for having this, and that. So I went and looked for another opportunity and I fell in a company where I lasted for 10 years. And I went there and started working as a foreman and just went up the ladder really fast and, you know, started making 6 digits very soon. And that's when I started making more money, but I started spending a lot of money.
Right.
It's still with the same
blueprint.
I have a car, I have a truck, I have a motorcycle, and I live in a nice house by myself. So there's all these things just to have this image that I didn't understand at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And then talking about with women, it was something similar. Now I make money. And I was like, well, nobody's going to tell me anything right now.
Yeah.
You know, now I have money and I'm okay looking. So guess what? You want a relationship with me? It's not going to happen. My heart's not open for business.
Wow.
You know, and it's just being, kind of a jackass.
Because you're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I turned into, and you know, it took me a long time to learn.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I want to just talk about that real quick because I was always broke my whole life. Like I was a college student, and I don't know how to say this the right way, but let's just say women was pretty easy, right? And then I started making all this money, and I tried to throw it at women because I thought that would attract them, and it had the opposite effect. Like either A, I attracted the wrong type. Like they were just there for the money. When the money was gone, they were gone, right? Or B, it made me look super insecure. Because it made me look like I needed money for them to like me. When I had no money, I was just myself. And then they liked me because I was myself, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. That was kind of funny. So guys out there, it's not about money. Money's good. You can't be broke. They don't want someone that's broke, right? But you have to be confident. You have to be able to carry a conversation. You have to make them laugh. Like, you have to believe in yourself. Like, you could have money, but if you don't have all that, the other stuff ain't going to happen, right?
You got to be real.
Yeah.
I think if you start being yourself. That's a big win.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of who I was not. Not myself. I had this image. If I have these things, they'll like me. You know, I get their approval.
So you were stuck in that image.
Yeah,
basically.
We get it from culture. You know what I mean? Media. I don't know who was your influence on culture, but like, you know, we see modern pop culture. It's like, oh, if the dude has the cars and the money and this, then he gets, you know, the girls, right? And it's funny. I think it was Chris Rock. He says the only reason guys want money is because they think that's how they can get women. He's like, if a guy can get women in a cardboard box, he'd be living in a cardboard box. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know, like if I agree with that 100%. There's some truth to that. It makes sense, right? Yeah. Okay, so now you're in your career, 10 years, making 6 figures, like living it up. Had all the toys, had the house. Where were you living at that time?
San Francisco.
Oh wow, in the city too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's I mean, you definitely were living it up, I would say.
Yeah, I was having a good life between quote unquote. You know, my it was work, and aside from work, all weekends was just parties. You know,
right?
Parties and alcohol and women and drugs and bring it all. And week after week,
just
for
a
years.
Vicious cycle, right? Yeah,
it's a vicious cycle. And
when did you stop?
A couple years ago, probably 3 years ago, or something like that. It was a slow stop. I think the first time I had a really bad accident in my house, overdosing.
Oh wow!
And it made me. It was just a wake up call.
Wake up call.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna be dead if I don't change something. And it was probably 5 years ago when I started looking for answers. And I remember that I didn't even drink before I was 27.
Okay.
So it was like, wow, how did I get from that to this? Right? Yeah. From that person, who that kid it was, he was so afraid and all this, to this man right here. Like, I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did, it was like, well, maybe I need to start exercising again. You know, and you can't really mix being an athlete or exercising with partying all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So I struggled with that for a while. Then I started reading workshops, you know, coaches, therapists. It was like, it was many things. It was not one, and it was little gradual, little by little. They started teaching me, and I had to learn some way because I had still that image, so nobody knew. And probably actually some people is gonna find out right now.
There you go.
So that's what my book is about. A lot of
Yeah.
it, is I lived like two completely different lives.
Wow.
What my family thought of me, like they might thought a few things were weird, but the extreme it was, they don't even know.
But you know what? It's good to be real, because too many people live inauthentic, or they try to live this life to please everybody else. But then what that does is it maybe drives you to do this life where you're unhappy, and then you act out by doing all these things because you think so. You're like completely confused. When if you're just like, I'm going to be myself no matter what anybody thinks, and I know that's very, very difficult. Maybe it would have been different, maybe not. I don't know. But I can kind of relate to you a lot, because the divorce, like one thing I forgot to mention. So before the divorce, I always had great relationships. I always had just amazing women inside and out, just great people, like good relationships. Well, I attracted good women. I wouldn't say I was a good partner, but I always attracted good women that you would want to marry, right? After that, I got into like really toxic relationships, like bad ones. And I had never been in toxic relationships before. So I think it had to do with the vibe, the energy I was putting out there was with the type of person I was attracting. You know what I mean? But getting back to you, it's pretty awesome, because most people will not break out of it. Like most people would not go to the path that you did of like complete and total transformation. How did that happen? Was it just something inside of you, like you knew you were worth better, or did you have people around you that kind of helped you?
So the first thing was, when that happened, that episode happened, and it was not like in the movies. There was no light under the tunnel, anything like that. But I was able for the first time in my life see myself, my life, people around me, this world in a completely different perspective.
Okay.
And then it's when I realized, like, wow, there's something really wrong here. I don't know what it is. I don't know where's it coming from. And again, through the therapy workshops and all those things, I started finding out why are they acting out this. I was somebody living two lives, and it was eating me from inside out. Being not you in front of so many people, pretending to be somebody else, it was just killing me. Literally, I was killing myself for pretending to be somebody else, or putting this face to the world. And once I got to the episode and started working out on all those things, then I started to see if I was myself. The more I was myself, the happier I was. And it's not like everything's happy, but that's when I came to think, I was in a company where I wanted to leave for years. I just didn't have the guts to leave, right? I was making money. I didn't know what it would be like to be outside on my own, and just being afraid. So that's why I ended up actually leaving that place as well, because I knew that I was meant for something else. That's why the Burning Man project, right? I knew there was some other things. I wanted to be an influence to good people in the world. I came to think either I'm a good influence on people or I'm a bad influence. And that it goes for my partners, for my family, for the people in this world. And I realized, I'm doing this job gives me money, but it's not helping anyone. It's not really helping anyone to be a better person. It's not helping me be a better person. So I knew I had to live to really work on that and discover that and work towards something else and make a difference in this world.
So you liberated yourself, basically.
In a way, it was a choice to be. You just can't be here. I need to find more about myself, and that there is out there. I know that.
Yeah. So a couple things. You said some really good things. Number one, I think there's some leadership inside of you, because a leader cares about others before they care about themselves. And so I guess you found yourself in a position where you weren't leading, you weren't helping, you weren't doing anything. And maybe the leader inside of you said, hey, Sergio, you need to get your shit together. Like, this is not you, So that's one thing. The other thing you said is working out. Too many people turn to medication when they're depressed. Like, oh, I need to go take pills or whatever, when they don't realize that exercise is probably the number one cure for depression. Like, it's better than actual medications. They've proven it, right? And maybe that comes from your athletic background, because you kind of went to the well. You said, hey, well, this is what when I was young, this is what made me confident and good, and this is who I am. Or maybe I guess you just kind of went back to who you truly were: a leader, an athlete, someone who wants to help others, right? And it's funny because again, same thing. Like I said, my previous career is a great career. I don't regret it, but I did not feel like I was being myself. I felt like I was chasing money. I wasn't chasing my purpose, and I was miserable. Right now, I feel like, man, I'm chasing my purpose. I'm excited, and things are just flowing and happening. Right, kind of the same with you. So, so after that happened, and you started going around, where did you go next?
After I make that change,
Yeah. So you left the job. Now what?
I lived. Yeah, so I was not prepared. I left the job and I had credit card debt and I have no money. Just my way of life, right?
Yeah.
Living in San Francisco and partying all the time, and spending a lot of money just on on nothing.
Yes.
But anyway, it was an experience, and I learned it was good for what it was and bad for what it was. I think I left the job, and there was a few things that I knew I wanted. I really want to get back in shape. Okay. That's one, right? Usually unhealthy life, what I put my body through it. And I also started developing like a really bad anxiety. Yeah. So even if I smoke or I drink, I started feeling like my heart is not doing well. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Oh wow. It's just a bad anxiety I developed because of everything I did. Yeah. So I was like, I want to get healthy. So I'm gonna be really go back to being that person. The other one, I wanted to write a book. Okay. It was like not knowing, like everything I lived is so much. It's not a very typical immigrant story in many ways that I get to say it. I get to put it out there because I don't want other people to, go through the same. Right. I feel like it was very liberating just to open up and be myself. And I know there's other men out there who are living, a mask. There's videos, there's books about how men live behind masks for many reasons. Mm-hmm. So I was like, exposing what it is, what it was real. It was something that I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to open a coaching consultant business. I was like, oh, I know a little bit about business. Yeah. I know a little bit about life coaching. And like, let's go with it and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Right. And, I went and started doing it. And I think I finished my book in 9 months. Wow. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be so much easier.
That was your first book.
The first 3 months, I did 90% in the first 3 months. And it took me 6 months to do the last 10.
Oh, that's usually the case, I think.
It was just like, oh, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought. But it was good. It was therapeutic. Because writing all my different stories that I lived, it was very therapeutic to move on with myself. Yeah. And the coaching business, has been going up and down. And I learned a lot. Fell on my face, and pick up myself up and go from there. Going back a little bit to the failure that you were talking about. I remember about 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, I talked to my ex boss, my CEO as well. Another person like yourself. $1 million businesses, very successful.
A mentor, basically.
So I called him. It's like, for as long as you're open to talk to me. I always had it then, and I never asked him questions about finances, about nothing. Yeah. He was always there. So I thought, it's my fault. So I called him and, talked to him a little bit. He's like, how did you become so successful? I need to know. Yeah. Because that's what I want. And he's like, well, Sergio, everybody looks at my successes, but I bankrupt like a ton of companies. Yeah. He's like, nobody looks at that. And he's like, he's kind of going, have to figure it out. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. There you go. Yeah. So, looking at failure in a different way. Yeah. My girlfriend, Elaine, she is an entrepreneur for many years. She has such a thick skin, Yeah. She looks at failure such a different way. And me being so new in this entrepreneurship, and it's like, I don't ever want to fail, so I do want to calculate every move, and you still fail. Yeah. Yeah. You still fail. Yeah. So it's a learning and process.
So you went back to the well and talked to your old mentor, basically, a very successful guy, but he straight told you, well, it's because I failed so many times. That's why I'm here, right?
Yeah. And there's a few other people that I talked to. There was just 1 week, and I was like, you know what? Who I know that are very successful. This, and that. I'm going to call them all and see what they have to say.
That's pretty smart, though. Because nobody usually thinks of that. What made you think of that? Because, honestly, not very many people would think, I'm going to go back to all the successful people I know and ask for advice. What was it that made you think of that? Did you just have it inside of you? Did you read something? Did you hear something?
I think around that time is when I read Tribe of Billionaires or Tribe of Millionaires, something like that.
So reading, okay.
Reading, yeah. since one of the things I picked up, another reason is since I left the company of 4 years ago when I started changing, there is no day I go by without listening to a book or reading something. I mean,
wow.
I read for sure a lot more books in the last 2 years than my entire life.
Wow.
And it's just a practice, learning something, right? Yeah, that's all it is. There's so many things I don't know, obviously, about myself, about people, about the world, about finances. And it's like, man, if I want to figure it out, I need to learn.
Yeah.
And so I try to find the different avenues.
100%. They say leaders are readers, right?
How could you not?
Yeah. And they say if you want to know the key to life, it's in a book. Like successful people put everything in books. The reason people are not successful is because nobody reads. Like the secrets are all there. They're in books, but nobody reads.
There is no secret.
Yeah,
it's on the books.
Yeah. And there's no secret. It's just hard work and not being afraid to fail and, reading and mentorship and action and all that kind of stuff.
And like what you're doing right now is right, taking action.
Yeah.
I left that company not knowing what I'm gonna do myself. Really.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to figure it out somehow, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another one, and it just kept working away.
It's also recognizing opportunity, though.
Right.
It seems like you've been able to recognize opportunity, or at least seek it. Or when you find it, you see it, right? Do you know where that comes from?
Finding the opportunity.
Or being able to see it right away. Or at least not right away, but being able to see it.
I do believe in when you prepare yourself, then opportunity finds you.
Yes.
I think it's in my life has been obvious when I'm not in the right track of things, and it just seems like it's not gonna change.
Yeah.
And then just sometimes life, gives you a slap in the face, and and you've changed directions.
Yeah.
Right? It happened to me many times. It happened to me when I arrived to this country, when I got divorced, when I moved to New York. All these things is life sometimes just teaching you something. The rough spots are for you to follow something that you're meant to do, I feel.
Also, it's an opportunity whenever you have an obstacle or failure, whatever. It's an opportunity to shift, go to a different direction to get the result. Or maybe that result is not meant for you right now. Maybe some other time, but it's an opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When I left, I wanted to do a lot more life coaching, and then I started doing it, and I didn't feel it, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is not what I wanted. The people be coaching. It's the energy is not there. My passion is not there.
Right.
So I minimized it. So I only do it very little.
Okay.
I learned by leaving this company, by moving to New York, all these things is so valuable who I spend my time with.
Yeah. Associations.
So I definitely, I'm very aware of who I spend my time with and for how long.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel
This is
special.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. The associations are everything. And I learned about that in the last 10 years as well, because a lot of times we don't want to get rid of certain family and friends because we love them, but they're the ones holding us back. You know what I mean? They say, just take a look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and your life is pretty much exactly like theirs. So if you want to be successful and you're hanging out with people who are not, how are you ever going to get to success? They don't know how. Otherwise, they would be successful. They're not bad people, but it's just they're not going to get you where you. What got you here won't get you there is like the point, right?
Right.
So associations is big, and I learned that too. That's very powerful. And okay, so you mentioned your girlfriend, right? That she's an entrepreneur and mentally tough. How did you guys meet, or when did you meet her?
We met probably about 8 years ago, but we were completely in different spaces.
Okay.
We met in the same industry, actually.
Okay.
We work for competitor companies.
Construction?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And she was working for a solar construction company. I was working for a construction and painting company. So we competed in a few jobs, ran into each other. But, they didn't even pay attention much.
Right.
Then, years later, I ran into her in Coachella.
Ah.
And I was like, oh, you like this music? Yeah. So we became acquaintances, still barely saw each other once a year, maybe something like that.
Okay.
But then in 2017, I think, I did a training with her brother.
Okay.
And it was a 3-month long program. So I became friends with him, and I started actually hanging out with her a little bit more. She's actually the one who got me in the program.
Oh.
And it was very funny because when I really, after my episode in San Francisco, I had no idea. I knew I wanted to change. I knew I was afraid. And I knew that she left her company. Same situation. She was making money and left her company at the age of 26 to pursue her dream.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? That's what I need.
Yeah.
So I remember calling her, and I think she was living in Colombia at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, there's things I want to talk to you about. I remember I called her and I wanted to talk to her, right? So I saw that she did that, left her company and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I knew, I think I was looking for a push. Somebody who will help me to make that move, right? To take that jump. And so I called her out, like, hey, can we go out for dinner? And, want to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, let's go. So I told her my whole story. I mean, I didn't know I was going to tell her so much about it. So
and you guys are just friends, so you're like, I don't care. I'm just going to tell her everything, right? Yeah.
And she's like, well, I think you need to go and do this workshop. It's leadership workshop. I think it will help you. And yes, it did. I went there and I realized like how stuck I was in my life in so many ways.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the change.
Oh.
So, she was there. She has to this day a really good example to, persevering and resilience and pursuing your dreams and just shifting and moving, doing what you have to do to get to the place you want to go.
That's awesome. So you called her up, you poured out your whole story. Yeah. She got you in this course, and now you're on your way to where you're at now.
Exactly. And that's how we started seeing each other as friends. I will knew things about her. I will help her with a few different things, her projects, things that she was doing at the time. And we just started seeing each other like that a little bit. And one day I invited her to Burning Man because I love Burning Man, right? It's like, I know you're into festivals and music, but you got to experience this. This is different. And I know that you think you've seen it all, but you have to experience this. And she's like, not this year. Maybe later. And at the time, we both were in a relationship. So it was really just a friendship.
Just a friendship, yeah, okay.
She was in a relationship, I was too, and it was just a friendship. And in that time, I broke up with my ex. She broke up with her ex. And then, one time I called her. It's like, hey, in 3 months, it's going to be Burning Man. Like, do you want to do it or not? I got the tickets, all of that. And she's like, yeah, count on me. All right. So she showed up to Burning Man, and that's where the magic happens.
There you go.
That's where the magic happens.
So
I heard a lot of magic happens there, Burning Man.
So
I've never been.
Yeah, let's talk about Burning Man, because you created the Freedom Project at Burning Man, right? First of all, how'd you get into Burning Man? Was it always something you did? And then how'd you get into the Freedom Project and all that stuff?
Right. So I have friends that used to go every year.
Okay.
And they will always say, you gotta go. And I'm like, sure, whatever. I go to festivals, I go to raves, I know all that.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it all. And then, I went for the first time and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I loved so many things about it. So then I started going every year, ever since. And
so what makes it different than just a regular festival?
Well, to start, there's no money.
No money.
Right? So
No money?
No money. So you can't buy anything.
Oh, wow.
Everything is gifted.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
You have just the weather of it itself is crazy. You could be at 95 degrees in the desert, and then you could be at 30 degrees at night.
Wow.
So how you have to prepare yourself to live in that environment for a week long or more if you were part of a project like I was, then, you need to bring all your food and all the equipment, and, there's so much to it that is different from a simple festival.
Wow. So you basically have to create a city and learn how to survive on your own for how long is it?
It's 1 week for the open public.
Okay.
When you have projects like I had, you go there in advance. It could be a week before, 3 days before. It depends how big your project is.
And how long were you there for your project?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So where did that idea come from in your mind?
I think it's when I learned that I wanted to do something different and I want to help other people. In a way, I wanted to create this space. In my head, it was like, I want to create this space in Burning Man where people will come and just rest from the sun, rest from the dust, rest from the weather. At the same time, it could be a place to, meditate. It could be a place to do some yoga. Any of those things, it was in my head. And I actually went to the Burning Man org and to an event they had, and it was like, hey, I have this project in my head. And it was literally came to me on dreams. This is what I want. I want to do it. And then this is it. I'm looking for an artist to make it happen. And they're like, no, you're gonna make it happen.
Oh wow.
They're like, you're the artist. And I'm like, no, I'm an artist. Yes, you're an artist.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
an artist. Yes, you are. And I was able to put together a few people to make it happen.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very challenging at the time,
Yeah.
but it was an amazing experience.
Do you still have photos of that?
Yeah, I have photos and videos. And,
Definitely want to check
That's
that out.
cool. Definitely. We can even, if anything you want us to put, we'll put in the description,
link.
like that you want to promote. We'll help you with your book and all that. But so you basically built your project for a week?
So I started building it here in a warehouse.
Okay.
It took me probably 1,000 hours to build it.
Wow.
So it was very long. A lot of people helped me.
Okay.
A lot of people helped me to do it. And we kind of built the whole thing, and we just took it apart, and then we just assembled it over there.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
'cause
like
it
a
was-
Lego.
Exactly. And it looked like a Lego.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It looked like a Lego.
Yeah. And so like, how was it received? Were like people were like, wow, this is amazing.
It was really well received. When you bring art to
Yeah.
Burning Man, they treat you well. There's so much art. I mean, you find hundreds of pieces that are just wow.
Yeah.
So I was very well received by
Uh-huh.
by the organization and by people. I think for me the most amazing part of it, there was two events that happened. One was just the emotion of creating it. Is like
Yeah.
this big thing I did and I dreamed about. I
Yeah.
made it happen. I was like, then I started really believing, oh, I can make my dreams happen. I'm not gonna play professional basketball anymore,
Yeah.
but I have other things in my life that I can do.
Yeah.
And that gave me that little extra push,
Yeah.
believing in myself. And there was a part when I was at night. You have to turn on the lights of the
Yeah.
space. So I was going there every night to turn them on, make sure they're running all night long.
Yeah.
And I was arriving. There was like this 60-year-old couple just hugging inside, spending some time there.
Wow.
I think that was one of the most beautiful. Like, I don't know, maybe the whole thing was just for them.
Yeah.
For that specific moment in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
they're having an intimate time.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really
That's beautiful.
priceless for me at that moment.
Wow.
When you said you wanted to help people, where did that come from?
I think part of it was helping myself in a way. Like, I was in such a space where I felt helpless. And I told no one, so nobody really knew. I think that in my head, it was, I knew there was other people there that needed to heal themselves somehow. And I think I was healing myself really at the same time, creating a space for other people.
Yeah.
It was just that
Beautiful.
transition.
Yeah, we had this awesome ladies on our podcast a couple of podcasts ago, and they created something similar called the Chrysalis Space.
Yeah. Desi and Ev. Hello.
Yeah, Desi and Ev, how's it going? They're actually driving across. Maybe they're across the country. Who knows?
Yeah.
Last I saw, they were just leaving Louisiana, so they drove from here all the way to. They're going to Carolinas, but. They created a space in Oakland, and they're taking it over there where women could come and be creative, and it's a safe space, kind of like similar
There's
to
nourishment. There's no alcohol, vegan food,
yeah. So again, it's very similar to what you did. So that was 2017. Was that the same year that you and your current girlfriend got together, or
No, that was after.
Oh,
We got
okay.
together after, yeah.
Okay, so now you guys are together. How long were you guys friends for before you actually became a couple?
Well, very little. We knew each other. We were acquaintances. We were not
Yeah.
even friends.
So just acquaintances. Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, I knew about her, I knew about me. I think we had like 2 conversations prior,
Right.
Then we started being friends. She helped me a lot with that project as well.
Okay.
There was a lot of questions because in order to fundraise the money,
Yeah.
I was looking to do some events. So I was like, I'm going to bring some DJs to some club and sell tickets and people come and all that. 2 failures completely. But she helped me a lot though. She helped me a lot to put them together. So in that time I was talking to her more.
Oh wow. So you have to like raise all the money yourself,
Yes.
unless you have it already. You have to pretty much raise it, right?
Right.
How long did it take you to raise the money?
Well, I did 2 events and I raised only like a couple thousand and I spent 12,000 on the thing. So
Oh wow. So
everything
you
was
put
out of
your own
pocket.
money, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, but that probably made it even more special because you had so much of your own energy in the game,
Yes, exactly.
And then Joe said this earlier, and I believe the same thing. Money is energy, right? If you think about it, there's no limit to the amount of money. They just keep printing money and printing money and printing money. Unfortunately, right? But there's plenty of money. There's just a very small percentage of people who can attract it and attract a lot of it, right? Okay, so now you guys are together, and you mentioned she has very tough skin because she's an entrepreneur for a long time. What was she doing? What was her business?
Business she has right now?
Yeah.
She has a couple of different businesses. The one she started a long time ago, 5 years ago or something like that. It was it's a music and charity company. So they also, through music, they reach out to other organizations and they help them, poor countries with water, things like that.
Oh, cool.
The company is called Neo Now.
Okay.
And, that was like the main big thing. She knew she wanted to like impact the world, and she just followed that dream. After that, she created some coaching business. She has like a card company, greeting card company.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she's doing a few different things.
So she is an entrepreneur.
For in the fields. Yeah, she has her hands in all kinds of
things. It's in her blood. She likes to be an entrepreneur.
She's thinking of writing a book. Like there's all these things. She has a very entrepreneurial mind.
That's cool.
I'm just like, I just catch the reflection of it.
There you go. Hey, that's a good person to have around.
Yes.
Especially if you want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst couple could be an employee mindset and an entrepreneur mindset. Like, I don't even think they would last. Like, honestly, like one would feel like one's holding the other back too much, and that would not work out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, you moved to New York recently.
Yes.
Why was that?
Exactly a year ago.
A year ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm. A year ago. Oh, well, it was a funny story, I guess. We were driving to downtown San Francisco. I used to live there before. You were just driving, and I looked at all the buildings, and I was like, maybe we should move to New York one day. And then a month later, it's like, okay, I already told my parents. You told your parents what? We're moving to New York. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're like, I was just kidding.
I was just kidding.
Yeah.
And then I saw just this sadness on her face. And then, she told me the story that she left her heart in New York, and she always wanted to come back to New York because she lived there before. And then she had to come back because her dad was pretty sick.
Wow.
So she came back to, help take care of him. But she always wanted to go back. So I guess she was just waiting for me to say something.
Wow.
How you like it so far, New York?
So I moved right before the winter.
Oh, yeah.
So it was so great. And then it was coronavirus pandemic. So I haven't enjoyed as much of it. Although the summer was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, how can I have enough of it?
Yeah, I've never been to New York, but you seem like you're a big city guy. So, I mean, San Francisco and New York are probably the two biggest cities in the United States. So, is your girlfriend from San Francisco?
Yeah, she was born and raised there.
Okay. So she was born and raised there, but she went to New York, fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. How did you, I mean, it just tells me that you guys are the right for each other, because she didn't even tell you anything about New York, and you're just like, we should move to New York. And she's just like, what? Like that's crazy. Did you just think of that, or how did that
I just
come
saw
to
tall buildings,
Yeah.
and I get attracted to tall buildings.
Oh, so you like the big buildings and stuff?
So I was like, oh, I want to live in New York. And after that, I think it was just making it happen. I mean, I have just left my company, and I was, in my head, it was, well, if I'm going to start from zero, I could do it here, I could do it there.
Yeah.
It's pretty much going to be just as hard
Yeah.
and as difficult. And, we did it. We took a month-long road trip. Which was really fun.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Saw a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't think I will ever see again.
Like what?
Like Kansas.
Oh,
You went to Kansas?
That must have been different. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a lot of national parks and a few different cities, so it was really fun.
Yeah.
Spending a month long.
Yeah.
And we didn't live together or anything. So that was our decision to move together there. So that was
Oh,
our first
wow.
experience actually living together.
Like
In the
literally
car.
in a car.
So
Yeah.
when we make it to New York, it's like, hey, we didn't kill each other.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah.
That's actually a very
It's a
good
good
test.
sign.
Yeah. If you can withstand a month-long road trip, you probably can withstand, being together, right? Yeah.
Fair.
So, any interesting or amazing things happen on that little trip?
Yes, a few different ones. She is very afraid of heights.
Okay.
She's afraid of water.
Okay.
And I just took her like some crazy hikes where you had to go
wow.
with the chains and Zion Park.
Oh, you took her to the
Zion,
Angels,
nice.
the thing?
Angels Landing.
Oh my God, I'm afraid of heights. I would freak out on that thing. You took her on Angels
Yeah,
Landing.
like I really want to do this. Let's do it. And he's like, how long more? Just a little bit more. A little bit more.
What is that like?
so
Because
stressed
I
out,
just
but
saw
she made it.
videos.
She made
It looks like literally like you're just like cliff straight
you're
down.
pulling yourself with a chain. I mean, there's places where you slip, if you let it go, you'll die for sure.
Wow.
They don't let all kids to go to those things because it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So we went to that one, and we did a few different things. I think what we learned from the experience and from each other was we didn't need anything. I mean, we were in a tent every time. We just drove to a tent, and I remember we will have this like soups, you just put hot water and some sausages at night, and it was perfect. You know, when we stayed at the cities and the hotels, we enjoyed it, but we learned that we could enjoy both things.
It's very humbling being in the mountains. Simple life,
It's I like nature a lot. A lot.
Me too.
So it was. She didn't like it so much, and now she loves it.
There you go.
She just didn't experience that before.
Yeah, they say if you want to conquer your fears, you have to face them. Number one, and then I guess it kind of just taught you guys that life is pretty simple. It's just being with someone that you care about, and having food and shelter and amazing experiences. You know what I mean? That's cool. So you've been in New York for a year, but unfortunately, COVID has kind of taken over New York, right? I've never been in New York. I want to go. I'm not really a big city guy, but I just want to go for the experience, right? Can you explain a little bit about what it was before and kind of what it is now in New York?
When COVID hit, I remember I actually had an car accident on March 13, and that's when I decided my life is telling me not to be driving and stay home. And I remember Elaine was like, there's this COVID thing, this happened. I was like, it's just nothing. Yeah. Like, don't believe everything the news said. I was completely in disbelief.
Like most people, because we don't trust the news anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And this happened, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to work. And I was really stressed out at the time because I was like, how am I going to make money? Things were not that easy. It was so difficult. And then it's COVID, and I was like completely, afraid of it. So I was in a bad state, and my experience with the whole COVID was that, right?
Yeah.
I remember calling my brother, and it was like, man, this is happening. And it's like, well, if you have no place to stay, if New York is a disaster and everything is horrible, I'm like, well, just come to Mexico. He has 2 houses. He's like, you live in the other house, and when you get on your feet, then we'll figure it out.
That's cool.
And that just called me. That and another conversation I have with a friend of mine, it just called me, right? I was like, okay, well, if it gets horrible, let's let it be.
Yeah, you realized you had a place, like, it wasn't like the end of the world, basically.
Yeah.
And in my head, it's the end of the world. Like,
it's a story, right?
Perception.
It kind of brings you back when you were like, 18 or 20, when you first came here in the United States. You were like freaking out, like, what do I do?
Yes, it really is so similar. I feel like every 10 years, life's teaching me something. It's something I need to learn because I haven't learned it in the past.
Yeah.
So, it was tough to be, in a new place. No friends. I don't have. Elaine had some friends, so we saw him a few times, but we really didn't have. I didn't have good relationships out there that are people that I know for a long time, like I had here. So it was a big change.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out a new career, and that trying to figure out how to be financially stable.
And New York's not cheap either.
No, it's not cheap.
No. Are you guys in New York City?
Yes.
Oh wow! So you're like in the midst of it.
We're in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it hasn't been easy there. At the beginning, was not. And the coronavirus there just hit really hard at the beginning.
Right.
Remember, if you saw the numbers, it was just crazy. So, we were just sheltered pretty much, not going out, and spending again a month, 2 months, just me and her, not even going out. Everything is delivered.
You guys are prepared.
Uber Eats.
Yeah, I mean,
we've been doing this
we learned so much from each other again there. We realized that in the worst of the worst, we'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
All you need is each other and some water. Simple food.
And some soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people look at this whole lockdown as a bad thing. I look at it as a great thing.
It was a bliss for me.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel for people who are suffering and people who got sick and people who lost loved ones. However, if you didn't, there's a lot of people spending a lot more time with their family than they ever did. Yeah. They were just so busy and no family time, or it was like watching TV, not even spending quality time. A lot more people got into fitness. A lot more people started businesses. It seems like the world just kind of woke up because we got time to stop. and smell the roses, so to speak, right?
Right.
And reevaluate our whole life and be like, am I doing the right thing or not?
Yeah.
And like it also opened up a lot of people to be entrepreneurs because like they all had like a little skill, but now you really needed a side hustle because your regular hustle was gone, you know? And they realized I can't really rely on my job because it could be gone in a second, right? So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and for me, it was a big change of time. That's when I became partners for Sexy Trees.
Yeah.
I remember.
I like that name.
he had, Alex. Shout out to Alex.
Yeah.
And he talked to me about it a little bit, just kind of mentioned it the year before. But then he called me again, and it was like, hey, he talked to me about it seriously, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect right now.
So the universe brought it to you.
The universe, and it's again, the people you surround yourself with, the relationships you have. I think they meant the world to me.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about Sexy Trees and your businesses that you got going on right now.
Yeah, well, Sexy Trees is, Alex is an arborist, so he started 8 years ago, tree servicing company.
Okay.
So money does grow on trees.
Yeah. There you go. Is that your slogan?
That's Alex's.
Oh, okay.
He always says, and I was like, yep, true.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
well, it's made out of paper, so there you go.
He started that company, and he done really well. He done really amazing. And, when he asked me to be part of that project just to grow even more, I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'd love to be part of it. And especially somebody that I know so well, somebody I love as a friend. He was we've been friends for so many years. It's really cool and exciting to be part of something with someone. You guys probably know about that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Somebody you respect and appreciate to be part of a project.
So he trusted you enough to let you in on his business,
it was eye opening for me to see how much he trusts me and appreciates me.
So you must be a good person deep down if people can trust you like that.
Deep down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you had a crazy life. We've all had crazy lives, but who you are as a person doesn't change.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has ever too completely bad or completely good.
We're human beings, we do things.
So you got that. You got the coaching.
I Sergio Lopez coaching and consulting. I started it. My idea is more work with organizations, companies. Kind of go there, teach workshop, listen, on leadership. And exercises, just interactive, that kind of thing. But I've done some life coaching 1-on-1 as well. But again, those are very, very limited.
So you focus on businesses or people or both, or what do you prefer?
Businesses. I prefer businesses.
Okay, so any businesses out there? You're in Brooklyn, right?
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a business in Brooklyn, you need some coaching. Here you go, right here. Do you have a website?
Yeah, I have a website.
Okay, well, what's the website? And then we'll put it in the description as well.
Right, sergiolopez.co.
sergiolopez.co. So check them out. So now you're in New York. Are things kind of opening up now with the whole pandemic?
I think they never closed it, really.
They
not
didn't?
like here in San Francisco. Because of Sexy Trees, I fly every month here. Back and forth. I spend a week here every month. And I remember... over there is a little different. There's a lot of little bodegas, little stores everywhere. It's not like California that all the big stores is the Costco's, the Safeway, and all those big stores.
Small businesses.
There are a lot of
mom and pops.
Mom and pops. So many. Kind of like in Mexico, it's like two sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
So those businesses, they didn't close completely. They just put on restriction.
They probably couldn't. They would have been gone.
Yeah, exactly. So many of them stay sort of open. They never completely shut down.
Okay.
There was a time where it was really empty. Everything you could see on the videos or pictures of people putting on social media.
Right.
But it was always a little open, and then just gradually opened up. And in New York, it was much faster than here or Chicago, all the cities that I've seen.
Right.
That I've been. They opened the businesses on the sidewalks. They just close the sidewalks and open the restaurants and open all those things. And
like an outdoor dining service?
Yeah. They just popped everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, spring came along and started coming up. People started coming out more, a little bit more and more. And then summer came along, and it was just a world of people outside.
Wow. So that was went right back to business as usual, just outside.
Yeah. And I love patios.
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned something, and I want to talk about it real quick. I think I've talked about this before, but if you grow up in a small town in like Mexico, for example, there's no jobs, there's no corporation. You have to have a tiendita or a restaurant. You have to have some type of business, or you're working in the fields breaking rocks for like $7 a week.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's like there's no job. So a lot of immigrants, especially if they come from smaller towns, they come here with already the entrepreneurial spirit. How did you get that entrepreneurial spirit? Was it always in you? Did you get it from your current girlfriend?
No, I think it was from sports.
Sports, yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I was exposed to a lot of different people, people building businesses and things like that, and that competitive mindset, right?
Yeah.
Which competitive mindset supports you in some areas of your life and some other
100%.
one doesn't. But I always wanted to do better, right? And once I started saying, you know, I want to get this job, this promotion, doing better, and I wanted to be the best, it came to a point where I had no space to room in the organization where I was.
Yeah.
There was a room that has to be very specific, doing exactly what they wanted. And it's like, that sounds great and money-wise, but it's not what I want. It's not for me. I knew that. So I needed to find somewhere else, you know? So it's like, if I want to have the type of life I want, I got to do something else.
Right.
What that is, I'm not sure. And started thinking about it. Very sad, thought I was going to open the same type of business.
Yeah.
Got even my license, and, you know, I incorporated the company and everything, but just never took the jump.
Right.
But then, you know, these other things happen. So that's the entrepreneurial mind. I think there's many ways to make an impact. You know, I have employees. You can make a huge impact if you have employees.
Right.
But not every business owner wants to. That's
you're-
the reality.
You're creating jobs for people.
Yeah.
You know, creating jobs, giving them life, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you said something important is being an athlete, because like you're competitive, you're part of a team, you're coachable, right? You work in a system, and you always want more. Like, what sports? You don't want to be sports and be the loser. You want to be the champion. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Sports does tend a big role to high achievers and success and entrepreneurship and all that. And then talking about sports and athlete, I know you're on a fast right now.
Yes.
For 3 days, right?
Right.
So you're on a 3-day no food fast.
Yeah, so I fast. I do water fast.
Okay.
Nowadays I do 1 day every week,
Okay.
and then every month and a half I will do 3 days. Right now I'm 72 hours. I'm gonna go into tomorrow maybe 80. If tomorrow feels good, I'll go another day.
Yeah.
It depends how my body feels. I'm just very aware of it. But I'm feeling really great after 3 days.
Okay. Sorry. What inspired you to start doing that?
Ooh, again, reading, learning about, you know, mindful breathing, learning about what you put in your body, you know, who you become, you know, being an athlete. It was always running my only way to maybe be in shape, but I didn't really thought about the benefits of fasting in your mind. You know, it has obviously a benefit in your body, right? You're giving your insides a break, because it takes a lot of energy just to process, especially the bad food that nowadays is around. So you're giving your body a break, so it rests. But at the same time, when you're fasting, your cravings, your mind starts resting as well. You know, because you don't think about food. You know, you just go about your day and put your mind on other things, and it clears. You know, I feel like your mind is kind of cloudy sometimes because all the food that we eat, especially if you drink, you know, or do drugs or whatever, your mind, your headspace not perfect. Because when you do a fast, you just cleans your system so beautifully that I really recommend it to anyone who hasn't tried it.
Yeah, I do intermittent fasting daily. I used to be on 16/8. I switched to 12. But yeah, I mean, if you go back to our they say, oh, caveman. First of all, caveman didn't eat a lot of meat. They would be hunting for days and probably would not eat. That's where it comes from, that we don't need to eat, because the hunters would be on 2, 3, 4, 8-day hunts. And then when they would kill an animal, they'd bring it back to the village and share it with the whole entire village. So they weren't eating like a 16-ounce T-bone steak every 3 times a day. They probably had a little tiny piece of meat. Most of their diet was vegetables, grains, depending on where they lived, what they could grow, right? So inherently in our bodies, we're not designed to be eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, big heavy meals, like snacks all the time. And then another thing you said, I don't know if people realize this, but digesting food takes the most energy out of anything that you do for your body.
Mhm.
So if you're eating big meals, heavy meals, drinking, your body is using, like, imagine like a video game, you know, the power bar when it goes down.
Exactly.
You're like down to 10 and you need to use that power for everything. But most of it is just used to digest.
Mhm.
And so the fasting, especially when you're older, number one, it burns off the little extra fat that maybe the hardest ones to get. Like you said, I got rid of my addiction to food because we're addicted to food.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hangry, right? Like I used to get hangry. If I didn't eat, I would like be like, I couldn't function. Now sometimes I forget to eat. I'm like, oh shoot, I got to eat before the day ends. You know what I mean? So like you said, yeah, it gets rid of your addiction to food. The 12 hours burns fat. 16 hours, I think, is something like clarity. And then once you go 18 hours, it's like your immune system. 72-hour fast regenerates your entire immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically reset your whole entire immune system.
I think it does something in our cells. It heals the cells or something like
there's
that.
a lot of things. There's so many benefits. There's a really good book, Paul Bragg and her daughter, can't remember her name. It's called The Miracle of Fasting. It's really good. I don't agree with everything on the book. Let me just say that. I don't agree with everything, but because it was written like on the 70s, right? So there's a lot of old information, but it's amazing how that much old information people, knew about the benefits of fasting. I mean, Muslims do it, Catholics do it. There's a lot of benefits of fasting. Just we store crap in our bodies. You need to get rid of it. You don't need it. A lot of toxins, and if you don't give your body the break, then it stores, and that's what you become.
Yeah, it also helps me with my sugar addiction.
Yeah,
I found
100%.
that very helpful.
And sugar, and I was mentioning before, right, when we talked, sugar is the only thing that gives me, coffee a little bit. If I drink too much coffee and then I do fasting, I will have headaches.
Yeah.
But normally it's sugar. If I have a lot of sugar that week, then I'll get a headache on fasting.
It's the withdrawals.
It's the withdrawals. And if I don't, then I don't have a headache.
Yeah, people don't realize sugar is a drug. It's more addicting than heroin.
It does the same to your brain like any other drug.
Yeah, and that's why you see little kids, they become like little sugar addicts because you give them all this sugary food and they're just like basically little addicts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That can cause ADHD as well.
Yeah, I mean,
bad sugar.
Yeah, don't even get us started on health because like we'll
I
talk
know,
It'll be
about
2
it.
hours.
I feel like that's one of those things I was completely unaware of it. Eating, it helps you a lot.
Especially coming from, I mean, you can speak for, but we both come from Latino cultures, right?
Right.
My father was a great cook. So every time my father would cook, the whole family would come over, right? And, traditionally it's the women sometimes cooking. My dad was the chef. He used to own a taqueria. Like we used to have 3 types of meat at every meal, like cheese. I mean, it was kind of healthy, but I mean, we would just eat, right? So you come from a culture that's all about food and eating massive amounts of food.
And deep fried.
Yeah, and deep fried, right? There was a comedian that he's like, I had a stroke when I was 12. He's like, we deep fried everything. He's like, mijo, you want the popsicle? Throw it in there. Let me fry it up for you, You want a salad? Throw it in there. I'll fry it up for you, right? But anyway, so we come from this culture of like eating and just eating massive amounts of cheese and fried food and sugar. And then to go to fasting, and then it kind of like wakes you up and realizing like, what was I doing my whole life? Like, oh my God, I've just been an addict, like to food, to whatever. Not just drugs are the only thing you get addicted to, right?
Yeah, no.
It's like you're on autopilot because if you've been conditioned for so long, even in my culture, Filipino culture, eating rice and meat for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's what I knew growing up. And, eating Lucky Charms for breakfast before school. And then find out that I'm always sleepy in class. I thought there was something wrong with me, but it was the food that I was eating. It's because the lack of education. That's all it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I myself, if I eat, bad food, when I call bad food, it's processed, like Oreos or something like that, a lot at night. The next day is so difficult to get up.
Yeah.
So much more difficult than, when you eat different kind of food, right?
Yeah.
Something healthier.
Like whole foods, basically.
Yeah,
not
I'm all
processed,
about whole foods, organic, mostly vegetables. I do eat meat, protein. But yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into fasting?
I think I knew that I could be healthier, and I
Okay.
started trying a lot of different things. I went vegan for a little bit, vegetarian, see what I like, what
Yeah.
I felt right, what it was not easy, but where I felt my best.
Yeah.
And having that entrepreneurial mind, I was like, I want to create all these big things. I need energy.
Yeah.
And I need
100%.
consistent energy. I can't be like lazy in the couch in my bed just because what I'm eating. So I need to be healthy.
No food coma.
So, just started learning different things. And when I talk about things like this, sometimes they're like, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that?
Yeah.
So I started fasting. I did intermittent fasting. I have tried different ones. And then this is what I found I like the most.
So this works with
For
you the
my
most.
body and my head.
So you do the long-term fast once a week, and then once a month you do a 3-day fast.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I read somewhere. I don't know if I could do this, but I read somewhere like because I'm over 40, right? They say when you're over 40, you should do 16 hours and then every other day 20 hours, like literally 20-hour fast. I'm like, geez, like, I mean, I have no problem fasting, but I have that fear of like, am I going to be able to get enough calories in within those 4 hours? Because I eat one meal and I get super full and then I can't eat no more, and I work out like 6 days a week. I want to get enough protein, and I'm vegan, by the way. So like I do get like nutrients, but like I need to get all of it. And I just found that I can't get it in with a short amount of time. But fasting is amazing. Like, by the way, don't just go do it. Like, do research, right?
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
Know your body
Yeah.
for sure.
Because like some people will just go and try it, and they might hurt themselves. You
Yeah.
know, like don't go do a 72-hour fast until you've be doing some 12-hour fasts.
Yeah,
or whatever,
just start
you know?
with a 12-hour.
Yeah, and it's super easy. Just skip breakfast. You know what I mean? Like, and don't eat super late. Like, if you stop eating at 7, 6, 8 p.m., don't eat till at least 8 a.m., 6, 7 the next day.
Right.
Or just skip breakfast altogether and then start with lunch. That's fasting.
Yeah, make sure you drink water.
Yeah, because
Tons of water.
lots of water. Yes. So breakfast, break, fast. That's what it means.
That's what it means.
It doesn't mean you have to eat it in the morning. It means you're breaking your fast because you slept all night and you didn't eat. Hopefully, some people probably sleeping in bed and eating in bed, right? But you're just breaking your fast. It doesn't mean it has to be in the morning. It just it's when you break your fast.
Yeah, and one of the things I've learned is, so you're in the period of fasting, but it's so important what you eat before you fast and after you fast.
Exactly.
How you break that fast is as important as you fasted.
100%.
So it's, what you said, read. There's tons of food books
YouTube.
nowadays. YouTube. There's so
Yeah.
many ways to learn.
Yeah.
Definitely, and start slow like anything else. I've been doing it for years now, so
Your body's used to it.
I wasn't like this. Like my first
No.
3-day fast, it wasn't like I'm doing right now. Like
Yeah.
perfect energy and I feel good.
Yeah.
The first one was challenge.
Yeah. So all the information's out there. And I like what you said. It's very important what you eat before and after. Because like before I knew, I was breaking my fast with anything. And that's not a good thing, right? Don't break it with sugar. That's like
Huge
the worst thing
Ice
to do.
cream?
Yeah.
Did you have a vegan ice cream?
No, I know. I don't remember what I break. But now I learned, by the way, there's a guy called Thomas DeLauer. He's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
He's like really good at fasting. He says if you break your fast with like a protein, like a lean protein, that's really good. If you break your fast with fat, your body will be like, oh, okay, so fat's my source of energy. So it'll burn more fat. If you break it with carbs, it helps you build muscle. That's what he said, right? Again, do your own research. But lately, I've just been breaking it with like a really lean protein. I eat this stuff called seitan, which is made from wheat, right? But it's like vegan meat, basically. It's a little block, 170 calories, has 35 grams of protein in a block. So I eat a little one like that. It kind of gets my system going. Then I'll have like a smoothie because it's like fruits and vegetables. It's not very heavy. And then I could eat whatever the hell I want after that, right? Until it's over. Yeah, cool. So fasting and you're in New York now, and you just wrote a book.
Right.
Tell us about your book.
Well, I wrote it last year,
Okay.
Like I said, it took me 9 months to finish it. And then I edited myself a few times.
Wow.
And then I was, looking for whether to publish it or, self-publish or find somebody to do it. And I was at that search for a while, and I kind of sat on it for a little while. And then I found my cousin to help me out with the editing. Alondra, shout out to you, girl.
There you go.
She's doing an amazing job. She's really doing fantastic. And, she had a couple of edits. She's doing the last one. So when that happens, I'll have it published probably in early next year.
Okay.
It's exciting. Definitely let us know.
What's
We
it-
want to
definitely.
support you.
Yeah.
What's the book
Yeah.
about?
It's different stages of my life, but different specific events that I
Okay.
lived through. Like
So-
like coming across the border illegally, what it was like.
Yeah.
Just a different story. My childhood was very difficult. Certain things I'm talking about it. A lot of my parents' divorce, many things,
Yeah.
and then basketball is one
Yeah.
of them. And it's all self-development, it's personal development.
Yeah.
But it talks about how certain things can just drive you to do good in life or take you the wrong way.
Right.
My OD, in my apartment, what it
Yeah.
was like, not telling anyone, trying
Yeah.
to figure it out.
I don't think that's something people like, want to tell usually because they don't want to open up about that, right?
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's a
Mhm.
huge failure I did. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Right.
But it's not a failure; it's a lesson. Right?
Yeah, there's a few the specific things there that are just does not happen to everyone. Like my childhood was I was physically sexually abused when I was a kid, so it's open that as a man, and
Yeah.
like it gets to be said. The drugs, the parties, the women, like all these get to be said, and the good things too, right?
Yeah.
How I actually, as an immigrant, chose to have money, to make money, to make enough to have a living. How I chose to have good relationships. Learning how I damaged so many relationships, and knowing that the whole time I was the problem, not the other people.
Right.
Yeah, I've always believed that you are the problem and you are the solution.
Yes.
As simple as that.
That's what gives you the power, though.
And
Yeah,
sometimes goes
so
hand in
much.
hand.
It's you take responsibility basically with your life and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that because you're going to help a lot of people because just some things you mentioned, like you said, not a lot of people have been through that, or maybe they have,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to keep it, and they're like you said, they're not able to be themselves, and
Right.
maybe they're gonna. I know they're gonna read your book and be like, oh wow, there's a way out. Like, and so, that's gonna. I see that being very successful and you really helping a lot of people
Thank you.
because that's very powerful. So look out for his book,
Yeah.
early 2021.
2021, yeah.
Okay. So now you're in New York. What's the next steps?
Whew, so many things.
Yeah.
Working on a lot of projects, getting the book out, it will be one of them. Growing, the Sexy Trees company. Now my partner and I, we're into getting another business out next year too. And maybe also, but actually 2 business out.
Oh, wow.
Because he and I really align on entrepreneurial mind. Like we think we can do so much, and do bigger things to help ourselves, help other people. Like, we can build businesses that actually give people a life of dignity.
It's very important to have a partner who's also on the same mindset as you as well. Like, it's so important, right? Because if not, you could have somebody that's basically dragging you down or slowing you down and stuff like that. So talk more about your businesses. So Sexy Trees, what cities are you guys in?
We are mostly in the East Bay.
Okay.
But we do come to, we have done in San Francisco projects with cities, counties, things like that.
Okay, so you guys work with cities and counties mainly, or just homes too?
All of it.
All of it? And
All of it.
What do you guys...
Apartments, HOAs, anything. We are just growing. This year, I think we're probably going to grow between 50 and 70% from last year. And, we're excited about it. We're taking the guys to Vegas, all the employees to
go.
Vegas
Nice.
to
Yeah.
celebrate. Right now looking into giving all of them medical benefits. So it's like
It's growing.
We believe in giving them, a life of dignity, because a lot of businesses out there today, they do have employees, but those employees can barely survive. And
Right.
we don't think that's right.
Working poor, basically.
And we don't see life that way.
Yeah, 100%. And like that's just an abundant mentality. You think abundantly, take care of your people, and they'll take care of you. And the business is obviously growing, you
Right.
know?
And it's like, if the business is not making enough money, okay, figure it out. How can we make enough money to
Yeah.
provide those things to our employees?
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. And
I just want to ask something real quick. Sexy Trees, and you guys do tree removal, and what else do you guys do?
Well, tree removal, we prune.
Prune.
We assessed also, do plans for years to come,
Okay.
for properties that have a lot of them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
all right. So, where can they find Sexy Trees?
just sexytrees.com.
Sexytrees. That's simple. Sexytrees.com. I mean, with that kind of name, how could you forget it, right? You know?
Exactly.
If you have ugly trees in your yard, call them up and they'll make them sexy, right? Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Awesome. So, I mean, man, it's been a great conversation, Sergio. I mean, you're an amazing person, and I look forward to you completely achieving all your goals and Sexy Trees growing and you planting yourself in New York. And anything else you want to share with everybody before we wrap it up here?
No, I just want to say, there'll be more stuff coming up. I know I have some TED Talks coming in. There's other things that, I'm very passionate about a lot of things right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they'll be coming. And at the same time, thank you very much, Joe, for thinking of me.
Yeah.
And thank you, Isaac.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you. I can't wait till you do your TED Talk. Then we can maybe have you on after that and see how that was, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, do you have your questions?
I do. I have like more than 6.
All right.
Narrow it down to 6.
All right. So we always like to wrap it up with a little segment we call Joe 6 Questions. So
6 Qs.
The 6 Qs.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So as I was listening to your story, I want to ask you, like, what advice would you give someone who's basically, struggling with their health, like with addiction and ODing and stuff like that?
I think the advice would be don't find your space in guilt or shame. I think open up. Find one person to open up with. One single person, it makes the difference. Makes a huge difference, and you go from there. If you really find that you need help, do it. And it doesn't. You don't have to be this person living on the streets already because of drugs or doing all this crimes and things. No, it could be small. It could be you just got off where you want to go and you think you might need some support, or sometimes it's not somebody helping you, but sometimes it's just like in business, right? If we are together in something, we can support each other. Just accountability, just simple as accountability. But when you live in your own world and you don't share what's going on with you, it could just get worse.
That's great stuff.
So
right
authenticity, open up.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what advice would you give someone who's basically not being authentic to themselves, being fake to themselves, living a double life, as you would say?
So the simple advice would be, be yourself, right? But there's so much to it. Why you have an image or why you make so much effort, because you spend a lot of energy putting an image that is not yours.
Right.
So the reasons that are driving that, it could be as simple as your ego, or it could be something more deep rooted, right? Trying to feel seen, to be loved. I mean, there's so much, right? So again, talking to people will help you to process that. Reading, there's so many. There's nothing wrong with getting a coach. There's nothing wrong with getting a therapist. It's healthy actually to have somebody else that can help you to process things.
Got it. So what advice would you give to someone who's basically, who started over in a different place?
That's exactly what needed to happen. Just trust yourself. Trust that new beginning, it's what it was meant to be for you. Because I think it was the guy who started KFC. I think he started KFC like 65.
Yeah, he was 65.
Kenny Rogers?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Colonel Sanders.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers is the singer.
So, you think in your head, I'm too old, or in my head is, whatever the reason that you're having in your head, that conversation, it's just perfect for you. If you start to something new, just go after, and there'll be failure, but pick yourself up and go.
Nice.
I like that.
Those are good clips. So what does following your bliss looks like for you?
Following my bliss, definitely just doing all the little dreams in my head, all those little and big, just following all of them, and really grounding myself, make sure this is the right thing in my heart to do. So following my bliss is helping people along the way. I mean, by me doing good in the world, it's good enough, and like you said, money just follows.
Yeah, then do what you love and the money will come. I
Yeah,
believe
and
in that.
If people see you happy
Mhm.
and living a fulfilled life, they're going to want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the same thing as you, but they're going to want to find that fulfillment like in life and happiness.
Right.
Awesome.
So let's say if you're like at the end of your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what do you think will be your proudest moment that you've accomplished or didn't get to accomplish, but it happened?
The proudest moments.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there
Like
are
looking
many,
back.
and I think it's the time I share with the people I love. I realized I don't have to do anything huge, amazing. Just giving my full presence and attention to the people I love in a given moment. That's what life's all about.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. That's beautiful.
Now.
It's breathtaking. It's hot in here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's be
I
fired
got
up.
one more question. If I can find it. There's so many. Okay, so what's your number one wish for the world? Just one.
Oneness.
Oneness.
United, connected.
I love that.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but if we can see
As simple
all each
as
other
that.
as brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
the world will change by
Thank you.
itself.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Seriously. I'm so happy. For some reason, you just popped in my head like, oh, I should, reach out to you. We're Facebook friends, Instagram friends. And I'm like, see what you're up to. Because you told me you were moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, where is this guy? So I'm glad that you come out here in California
Yeah, I'm
every
very
month.
happy.
So thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to end this thing. Thank you again so much, Sergio. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. This is awesome. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, I say we're going to be the #1 podcast in the world. Our goal is 250 million subscribers. We want to help inspire people to find their true purpose and follow their bliss. It's never too late. You're never too young. You're never too old, right? Thanks again for being here, Sergio. You're awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and as always,
Follow your
bliss.